This is Sports 845 with Darin, Kunis, and Dick O'Neill.
It is November 15th, 2023, Sports 845. We're going to get really into Section 9 because it's playoff time. It was a very good season, a lot of competitive games, a lot of good players. We'll talk about Players of the Year candidates. Coaches of the Year were already determined. And to my far right, my partner, legendary basketball coach Richard Aloysius O'Neill, who is close to breaking one of Wilt Chamberlain's records. We won't go into which record that is, but he fell about 9,998 short. Damien Striharsky, the head coach at Port Jervis, who's a perennial playoff team since he's been there. And to my left, the great district attorney from Orange County, David Hoovler. Also, he could be considered the Archie Manning of Orange County. His sons both attended Port Jervis, and then they ran and took the NIL money from my friend here on the far left at John S. Burke, Aaron Hasbrouck, who's the vice president of the Coaches Association. And Aaron does a great job, and he's really always there when we need him for the show. He doesn't just pay attention to Class D and Burke. He's all over Section 9, and he does a great job. So let's get right into Section 9 and the playoffs. Let me just give you the playoff setup, and then we'll listen to you guys. In AA, Middletown is ranked 18th in the state. They're 9-1. They get the benefit of a home field game in Middletown. Saturday, they play Christian Brothers, who is ninth in the state and with a record of 9-1. So that's a very big game for Middletown. These are all big games. In Class A, Cornwall, to no shock, wins again. They're 11-0. They're ranked 4th in the state. They've won, what did they win? 2 titles in the last 7 years? Close to it. Yeah, maybe more than that.
The last two, but
okay.
Missed out on. But
they play Niskayuna, who is ranked 3rd, and they come in at 10-1. That game will be played at Goshen.
Correct.
The only time Goshen sees playoff games. Class B, as I said, Damien is here. Port Jervis, ranked 18th in the state. They come in with an 8-2 record, just defeated Marlborough to win B.
Correct.
They play the 6th ranked team in the state, Rye, at 9-2, and you get the benefit of a home game pretty much in Middletown at Fowler Field. Then we go to C, where O'Neill is 20th in the state. They play Bronxville in Mayapack. And Class D, Burke, which is 4th in the state, 9-1 record for Burke. Aaron does a great job. They play 6th ranked Haldane, who comes in with a record at 7-2, and the game is at Mayapack Friday at 4 p.m.
Yep.
Where do you guys want to start? You want to start off with AA?
Yeah, however you want. Sure.
I'll leave it to you guys and
I'll
David.
let Damien take Middletown, because that's his rival.
That is the rival for Port Jervis. We've been playing them for such a long time, and this year was no exception, no different. And we came in with that game with a game plan. We had them last year. We won the bell. Same type of guys, same scenario. But Tim just did something different with that team. They just came out, and their line was just full strength. Jelani Graham just running all over the place. They just had it together this year, and that was one of the biggest and toughest physical games that we've had all year.
Middletown's very good.
Very good.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, we give it to them. Like, hats off, well coached, great athletes all around.
And a big pool to draw from.
Correct.
Cornwall in A, 11-0. They lose a game or two every decade, but they seem to be there every year. They replace good coaches with just as good as coaches. They replace players with just as good as players. And they're 11-0, and they play Niskayuna. I don't know much about them, but they're obviously very good. They're 3rd in the state. The game will be played in Goshen. Kevin may call in later. There's really no sense in discussing Cornwall right now.
Right.
Let's get to you. Port Jervis. You're 8-2. You play 6th ranked Rye. What do you know about Rye?
That they used to be an A team.
Mm-hmm.
So they came down. I guess their numbers dropped. This year it was the first year as a B, and they're doing, as usual, pretty well. I know, talking to some of the coaches just from around, that they've always been even very competitive in the A level. So we know coming down to a B that they're gonna bring some heat. So we gotta definitely prepare.
Do you have any common opponents?
No.
No. So you're just home watching film on Rye all the time.
Right.
And that game again is at Fowler Field. Port Jervis travels.
I think we're at Goshen.
You're at Goshen.
We're
I'm
at
sorry.
Goshen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're at Goshen, but Port Jervis travels very well. You'll have a
Right.
big crowd there. I'm sure Rye will bring some people. Have you been to the Dome?
No.
Okay.
We were close in 19, about 1 point away.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was tragic.
Yeah.
And you do a phenomenal job there.
Appreciate it.
Tell us about your team.
So we lost a lot of guys last year, but these younger guys really stepped up, and we have a group that is just disciplined. They're hardworking kids. As soon as the season was over last year, they hit the weight room. They were doing sprints. They were doing other sports, and they just kept with it. And as soon as spring sports stops in May, we get it going. So we're working from the end of May right through until now. So
Same staff.
Same staff. Yeah.
Same staff. You just replace. You change your offense at all this year? Change
A
your
little
defense?
bit, a little wrinkle. So we have a couple moving parts, but the coaching staff, I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. They do a great job. Because as Aaron knows, as a head coach, like sometimes you can't always be around, and those guys are just there to pick up the pieces. And as we're running, they're doing every job possible out there. So the coaches do a great job. Special teams, defense. My right hand man, Cristalato, on the offense. Really brought it together.
Anthony Theodore, Player of the Year. Did he win Player of the Year, or is he a
For
candidate?
B. Back of the year for B.
So he's,
Yep.
okay. Tell us a little bit about him. First of all, is he a senior?
Junior.
Junior. So you
Yeah.
get him back next year.
Correct, which is nice.
Unless he takes the NIL money.
Stay away, Aaron. No. Anthony, great kid. Just very, when you talk about that overall athleticism, he has it. He has the speed, the agility, the vision, his hands. He's one of those guys. I think last year I gave him one of the awards as thing of cards, and we called him like a Swiss Army knife, but jack of all trades.
trades.
Thank you. I lost it. Jack of all trades, because he could do it all. I mean, you can even pass if he wants.
Does he play both sides?
Oh yeah.
You have a bunch of kids playing both ways. Like I'm sure Aaron does.
And Aaron can attest to this. When we're low on numbers, you got to put the 11 best out there. So we do have probably half our guys playing both ways.
And I always say, listen, there's great coaches in A and AA, but you guys at B, C, and D really have to hope you get 11 great athletes, because you don't have a big pool to choose from.
No.
So
and it's tough. And
so
you don't
to
want to
win-
use those guys, but, I mean, you have to.
And on the smaller schools, it kind of cycles. If you come in with a good class in front of them and maybe a good class behind, it cycles. But then after 3 years, maybe you have to wait for another cycle.
Right.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
That happens quite
I
a
remember
lot.
years ago, we had 52 guys on the team,
Yeah.
and now this year, after a couple injuries, this and that, we were almost down to 25 at one point. So
And
it's-
just think about it. You keeping on winning. It's not like you're
It's
getting
tough.
your
Well,
brains
that's what
beat out.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
First of all, winning or creating a dynasty in high school is so much tougher than college with with NIL and
Yeah.
transfer portal and the pros. You just go out and pay money and get the best players.
Right.
In high school, you're literally turning over your roster all the time. So kudos to you, to Aaron, to Cornwall, to these schools that continue to win with different faces every year. And how long have you been at Port Jervis as the head coach?
Head coach, this is my 5th year.
And this is the 5th year you've won.
Correct.
big. So, I mean, kudos. I mean, it's
Thank
a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Aaron, O'Neill is 20th ranked. I think I mentioned this. They play Bronxville. The game's in Mayapack. Aaron, you could shed some light on O'Neill.
Yeah, I mean, O'Neill's been our rival, the last couple of years. We were fortunate to beat them this year. Merrick is one of, if not the most explosive players in Section 9. I mean, his speed, I went to the Chester game last week. Thought Chester did a really good job defensively, but 180-yard touchdown for Merrick, that's the difference. Is he can take any play at any time, to the house. And that's not just on offense, but on special teams. He's great at corner. He has a ton of interceptions. So they're solid, and I think O'Neill They lost a lot of last year's team, so at the beginning, you look at their record and you see, they're just a little bit above 500, but I think they are starting to click at the right time. So
well, you want to build up everything for this time of the year.
yeah.
Right.
Is he trying to commit to West Point? Is that what he wants to do?
I'm not sure officially, but I know he's getting plenty of looks. I know he's been to some camps. UConn, he was up at.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
How
those
big
guys.
is
He's not.
That was my next
he's not
question.
tall. I want to say, what do you think? He's like 5'11", maybe.
Not even. I don't
He-
think that.
He's definitely under 6 feet, but I'm telling you,
Stocky.
built,
He's built.
and he's the Wes Welker type receiver. He's going to catch bubbles. He's going to catch screens. He can take a jet. They put him in the backfield.
He can do everything.
Yeah.
In your opinion, can he play at West Point
I think he could. I do.
with a little more? Gets a little bigger, maybe.
I'll put it this way: we've played A's, we played B's. There are better teams at times that we have to scheme against.
Yeah.
I would say, as a head coach, he's the best player, single-handedly. That defensively, we've had to say we need to put in this specific defense for this specific kid.
Yeah.
Oh, well. and a lot of teams have great
That
players.
says a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That says a lot.
If you don't put 2 on him, from a secondary standpoint, cannot defend him.
Okay. Well, that answers that.
All right.
You're ranked 4th. Aaron, you're the head coach at Burke. You've been there how many years?
This is my 6th year as a head coach, 10th year at Burke.
10th
overall.
year at Burke, and
Yep.
again, a perennial winner. You do a great job, and your numbers seem to get lower every year, but you seem to win more every year.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We've kind of built a culture of having a good program, and again, like Damien said, I give a lot of the credit to the coaches I have with me. I think I have one of, if not the best, defensive coordinators, in the state. I had 5 shutouts this year.
And who would that be?
Joe Piasek, he's a
Joe
former
Piasek.
Cornwall player.
Mhm.
We coached together at
Oh,
Warwick.
I remember.
We coached at Middletown together for 2 years, and then when I got the head job at Burke, he came over, and he has had opportunities to go coach, be a head coach, but we want us to work together. And
You guys both give your coaches plenty of leeway.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a head coach, and Damien will say this, is especially Damien calls the defense, you still call it D, right?
Right. Yeah.
I call the offense. It's if you're a coordinator as a head coach, it's almost impossible not to have another coach that runs the other side of the ball, and you can just trust to say, hey, let me know what we're doing. You watch some adjustments, but I think Damien and I both have a similar relationship, him with Coach Stellato and me with Coach Piasek, where
But you have to as well. If you have a great coaching staff and you're going to have that much trust into them,
Yeah.
you know that they're going to do the job in the way that we would want it done. So we don't
Absolutely.
have to worry. We don't have to look over their shoulder.
Yeah.
We know that everything is going to
You
be
probably, I
done.
would assume you have in your gut. You're probably saying, "I know what he's running here anyway."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know much about Haldane? That's your next game.
Yeah, so I got a chance to go down and watch them last week. They beat Tuckahoe. It was a great game. They beat them 27-21. And obviously, sure, Damien, you get a ton of films and you're preparing. I feel like they're a lot like us. Small school, physical. I feel that we have a good opportunity. We've done a good job. And we had that opening season loss to Tioga, who was incredible. And we got better each week. We didn't lose a game in Section 9. And so I think our guys have some confidence. But
And you've played teams from each.
yeah, we played all 3 C's, we played 3 B's, and we played 2 A's. So
Who'd you play in A?
we played FDR,
Mhm.
and actually Monticello was supposed. We did not play Monticello. Unfortunately, that was a forfeit for us.
I'll tell you, and I said it when I had George St. Lawrence in here. It's criminal, and I know it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
Or it's somebody's fault, but we don't know who. Burke should open up week 0 with Goshen every year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
not
know
Duke,
we've had this
North Carolina, it's
conversation.
not
Yeah.
Michigan, Ohio State, but it's such a natural rivalry, and the kids all know each other.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't happen.
I will say the scheduling is not as easy as everybody thinks. People think we have a lot of say in it as coaches. We have 0.
It's got to be done.
And the other thing is too is the problem they're having is with the smaller schools and the double A's, that those are the hardest to schedule because a B can play an A B can play a C. So if
You got Damien playing a double A.
he does because that's a special request.
Yeah.
They're never going to get rid of the Middletown.
Week
No,
2.
not ever.
Yeah. But technically, if he wanted to play a Monroe on a
He
normal
couldn't do
year, it would have to be done with section approval and AD approval. So those are special circumstances. However, in our case with these smaller schools, because there's not enough playing, you have the Burks, the Chesters, the O'Neills. O'Neill played Valley Central. You had a C play a double A.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of crazy when you actually think about it, but it's just kind of the dynamics of where the scheduling is at right now.
When we get back, we're going to talk with Dave Hoovler, who is kind enough to join us tonight. This portion of this show is brought to you by Village Pizza. Village Pizza, located on Greenwich Avenue in Goshen, a million pizza places in Goshen. They, by far, have been there the longest. They have the best pizza. They have a great menu. You go in there, you see Sal, John Paul, any of the guys. They really take care of you. It's great pizza. They use Grubhub, Uber Eats, or they deliver. But phenomenal pizza, Village Pizza in Goshen. We'll be right back. We are back. Sports 845, November 15th, 2023. The good news is you guys are supposed to have, I think, decent weather for these games.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I think so.
David, thank you for joining us. The district attorney, Orange County. He's been there how many years?
10.
10 years. He keeps defeating a guy by the name of Unopposed every year. This guy should give up. David, you, besides doing a great job as the DA, you're very involved in high school football. Your kids are done in high school football. I know they're on. Heath is coaching up at Morrisville.
Yep.
Jackson has turned to golf and has done very well. But you're still around the game. And you're the you text me every now and then and say I told you so, and you're usually right. David, what teams besides the ones that we mentioned have impressed you?
Well, I told you so about 6 weeks ago when I said Middletown was for real. After I kind of saw them, the Port game kind of convinced me. I just think what's really cool sitting here right now is I figured it out. Got 11 years coaching experience between these two guys. They got 8 section titles. You know how many coaches are out there that don't have a single section title? A lot.
Plenty.
A lot of.
That's what I said. It's really, you look at you look at Cornwall, and I'm sure. And listen, Billy Bianco does a tremendous job. Kevin Gallagher does a tremendous. There's great coaches in Section 9.
Absolutely.
And what people don't realize, well, we realize it, is Section 9 is a state powerhouse in football. It really is, and it's a credit to you coaches, David. These teams that we just talked about. And we always say, Dick and I always say, now we have favorite teams because we root for Section 9. So our favorite teams are Middletown, Cornwall, Port, O'Neill, and Burke right now. Which of those teams, and I know they're sitting here, has the best chance to advance and possibly get to the Dome?
I'll tell you what. My take on it, and I got a little help from my son Heath, who throws in his 2 cents with me. I'm going to tell you, I think if Port gets by Rye, I think that there's a very good chance there, and I think the same thing for him. It's getting by. You got to clear Section 1. If you clear Section 1, you got a legitimate shot.
Well, first let's explain. How many games do you have to win to get to the Dome now?
Now,
Two
games.
Two. Yep.
2.
You have regionals, semis, and
Semis,
then
then
state
dome.
finals.
And the only game that's in the Dome is this final.
Correct.
Okay. Are the regional finals in Goshen, Mayapack, and
Yes, these are
Fallon?
regionals this week.
These are
the
regionals.
Okay.
Yep.
What about the next round?
They're at
Semis.
Middletown.
Still
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Oh,
And,
so
and
that's great.
So everything's in our backyard.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
say.
And that's not
It's nice.
that's not because of Section 9. That's because Middletown has such an awesome site.
Of
and
course.
Dave Coates.
Yeah.
That's why they get the bid for soccer and for football.
Yeah,
So-
and
But
Goshen.
And that's
he
the
does-
eastern side, right?
He does
Right,
a
yeah.
fabulous job.
Yeah.
Dave
Oh,
Coates
yeah.
over there. He's just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal
And-
AD.
And
No
Goshen,
question.
the same thing with
Yep.
their facilities.
Yeah.
So David, Port Jervis and Burke have out of these schools. I would think Double A is the toughest.
I think Middletown, I don't know, CBA, Christian Brothers Academy, when it's the Syracuse one, I'd be like, that's a tall task. I don't know much about the Albany one. I don't know much about Cornwall's opponent, but betting against Cornwall is just a bad idea over time.
Mhm.
So, hopefully both of these guys, both of these teams, I saw both Port Jervis and Burke practice today. I mean, look, what we don't talk about here is what these two guys do and what a lot of these coaches do. They don't get paid a lot to do this. They put in a truckload of time into it. Coach Striharsky over here has a 5 and a 7-year-old. Aaron's got, 3 kids under 10, and, they're out there. They're not only coaching football, they're trying to build character in young men, and they're trying to make sure these guys do the right thing, and they're trying to make sure they're students first. So I think they deserve a lot of credit.
They do,
For what
and
they do.
I think that until I don't think until you've maybe done this job a little bit and been around the closer, how difficult it is to repeat these champions. You guys are making it look easy, and it's it's not easy at all. It's extremely difficult. You always got the arrow or the target on your back. I mean,
Always.
and I'm sure every game you lose,
yeah.
you have parents saying it's your fault or the
Yeah.
ref's fault.
Always.
Every game you win, you have parents.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you can go undefeated and win a state championship, and there'll still be someone that's unhappy with
Correct.
how you did it. But touching on it, it's funny because I was actually thinking about this the other day, and Damien and I were talking about a little bit lower numbers, in football in general, and there was a point a couple of weeks ago where I was at practice, and we're doing some half line stuff to get good quality on good quality when you're practicing, and I'm like, I said to myself, this is crazy. We're doing this with 23 guys, and we're in a position to be successful. And I think to kind of get back to the points we were talking about with large school and small school is like really the quality is not the difference, it's the numbers. Because you could put Damien in a situation as he does with the double A's, Burke, O'Neill, Chester, a lot of these other smaller schools, and for 20 out of the 40 minutes they'll be in the game.
Yeah.
But the other 20 they won't, and the difference is the other pool that you have to play special teams, and you can throw another guy out there. When your team's 23 guys or 30 guys, you just don't have the horses or the bodies.
That's why Dick and I always go on FanDuel and bet the game in the second half.
That's right.
For the
Easy
large
money.
schools. Yeah, large schools.
Also, in the smaller schools, when it's the next man up, the next man up may not be anywhere near the quality of the kid who just went down.
Right.
I mean,
There's a
where in a
drop-off.
big school, Middletown, probably I could say if Jelani goes down, somebody pretty good's coming in for him. I
Absolutely.
would guess,
Yeah,
right?
For sure. And a lot of those number twos are younger guys for us, so your senior, if he goes down, that number two could potentially be a sophomore who thought there's no way I was going to be in this situation. It happens weekly.
I watched
all the time.
Cornwall play Lords the other night over here in Middletown. And Lords has been a great program for a long time. Well, they were out of the game early. Cornwall put them out of the game early by halftime. And I was sitting on the Lord's side and listening to some of those parallel coaches out, it's passed him by, this, that, the other thing. I'm saying,
Coming off a
he's
championship
just
last year.
playing
Right,
for a state champion. What the hell are you talking about?
You know what, Dick? My son coaches at the collegiate level, and I luckily, when I go to see him, I don't have to sit outside anymore. I get to sit up in the box. The parents, even at the collegiate level, are brutal on every single call, everything that happens.
Well, I can tell you a certain starting quarterback for the Giants right now. His parents are already blaming Daboll. David, like I said, you stay involved in high school football. You watch it because you enjoy it. Yeah. What have you seen that's changed over the years in football?
Well, I'll tell you. I think Section 9 has come a long way.
Why?
10, 12 years ago, Section 9 was the doormat. Other than Monroe, Section 9 was a doormat to Section 1. Traditionally, Section 1 is a little bigger, a little faster. It's faster. It's always been speed. Section 1 has always had an advantage in speed. And it's just like Coach Hasbrouck said, kid runs a 4.5. 4.5 is extremely fast. But in the world of football, in when you start moving a little bit better class, D3 college, D2, D1, 4.5 is like your average is what you're going to see. It's just having those schools down in Section 1, instead of having up here, we have one kid on a team that runs that fast. They might have two. And as Coach Hasbrouck said, it's just throwing that extra guy out there. But I think Section 9 has come a long way.
Do you attribute that to more kids possibly playing football?
I think
better
more
coaches,
better coaching,
or a combination of
better
both?
coaching, better training. I think a lot of it. I think better coaching, better training.
So I think like on behalf of like the Coaches Association, and Damien can speak on this too, is like I started coaching 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you could not put the 35 coaches in Section 9 in the same room without this guy not liking that guy, and this team, Newburgh and Monroe and Port and Middle, and you could legitimately put all of us in a room and we would all have a beer together and talk about our teams because and I think the Section 9 Coach Association has done a good job of this, is really like understanding that, like, aside from promoting arts programs, as you guys said, when we get to the state playoffs, we're all genuinely rooting for each other. So it's like, you know, when I lost to O'Neill last year, they kicked our butts. It stunk, but like I was rooting for O'Neill to win the state championship.
Of course.
And I think that that's something that where Dave has said Section 9's come a long way. It's like we do a lot of off-season things together, not just competitive things, but you know, going to clinics together, sharing stuff. You know, Damien and I did a scrimmage prior to the season started, and we were talking about different schemes as, you know, oh, let me see that play. How'd you run that? Where, you know, 20 years ago, you would have stood on opposite sides at a scrimmage, never said anything. Hey, thanks for coming. See you later. I think it makes a big change.
You're also getting better facilities in Section 9. Middletown has always had great facility. Port has a great facility.
No, it's changing.
Yeah, but it still was
Yeah.
you had a turf field, and you know
We don't, so it's
no,
gonna
but
be
you had it. My
Gwinnett.
kid played there. Wasn't Gwinnett?
Yeah, no,
No, it's grass.
But it was great. It was really nice grass
Right.
for a long
It
time.
was a very.
It was a great place
It
to
was
play.
like
a great
Section 9's
environment.
Lambeau Field.
Correct.
It was a great
Right,
place to
but,
play.
You know, Dr. Bell came in and using some money, he's going to spend it. We're going to get, you know, 2 new turf fields, whole new stadium,
We might
kind
be
of
playing
going off
playoff
of.
games at your place next year.
Correct. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, and actually I was talking to JJ Gass, our AD, and he actually wants to put in a bid, not even for B, but for C and D.
Well, you can already have the All-Star game if you want that. We'll start you in there. I nominate you. Like,
But I mean, Goshen has a
Great.
top-notch facility.
Monroe.
Roosevelt, Monroe.
Yep.
There's
even
a lot
the
of great.
smaller, you know, Walk Hill, Marlboro.
Walk Hill,
Yeah.
Cornwall will,
Yep.
and
Yep.
whenever they get around to doing it, they,
Yep.
you know, they
Yep.
got
I know
Makes
they
a
tried.
difference.
yeah.
So they have good facilities, great coaches, and you're finding your more kids are playing lacrosse. Is that helping football with athleticism, or is it hurting it with losing numbers?
I don't necessarily think it's one thing or another, but I do think that you know, what Damien had said before, starting, you know, everybody's starting earlier, everybody's working together, everybody's doing all these events, is you can put a direct correlation into the programs that, you know, show up in the spring and work together and do these events, and the programs that you don't see at these events, then you just see in August. And it's not easy. It's time away from your families,
Yeah.
like you said. It's
Yeah, and
you
then
know,
you're coming here,
Yeah,
and then
it's-
you're making phone calls for kids to go to college.
yeah.
But it's also, I think, the big thing that I did miss that helps a program is winning.
Yeah.
Kids want to play in front of people, and they want to be on a winning team.
Hey, look right here at Port Jervis. With your first year down there, right after like 3 games, you had a bunch of guys come back that wanted to come
That's
play.
right. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta tell you, when he became a coach at Port Jervis, I didn't know him. I heard all these things, but after like his 5th game of his first year, you knew it was for real. Because guys that had given up on football, that weren't playing, all of a sudden were showing up, I guess, saying, hey, coach, I want to play. You got them in their 10 practices or whatever they needed. And the next thing you know, your numbers were getting better. And, you know, he even said to me today, you know, he goes around the modified kids and everything, trying to find, you know, the guys to come out. I mean, that's a game changer.
We do.
Did you bring up some guys?
We did. Yeah, just for a couple numbers, some good kids coming up. But again, you know, thanks to Dave coming down today, speaking to the kids. I told him after you left, I was like, that's a great guy to have, you know, and to know. But, you know, thank you again, Dave, for stopping by, talking to the guys. But that's like something that, you know, we all see and we all enjoy having around. It's just someone who, like you said, he doesn't have kids playing right now, but he's still committed into coming back to Port Jervis, coming back to Burke, you know, talking to the guys, just explaining life lessons that he's learned through his kids. And it's shows a lot to these kids and what they're trying to succeed and do for the future. So, you know, when you have guys coming down to the field and talking during practice, it really shows like a sense of respect and self-worth.
And
with a lot of
also,
them.
when you're bringing up these young kids, even though they've got their helmets strapped on tight as they can be, they know not to get in the game, but they're in that atmosphere. They turn around, they look at the crowd roaring
yeah.
behind them, and they think, boy, I really want to, what do I have to do to
Oh,
make-
there's
to
nothing
get
like
part of
wearing
this?
nothing
Yeah.
like wearing a jersey on a Friday.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
part of something.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
again,
It is.
congratulations to both of you. David, you going to any of these games?
I'm gonna try to make Port's game. I don't know if I can make Burke's game, but we'll
It's
see.
tough spot.
And-
Yeah, well, Mayapack.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, I got to tell you something. Some of my best memories of Burke football happened at Mayapack.
Yeah.
That's
So,
a nice facility.
You know,
too.
it's
That's
just a
great
tough one.
facility.
It's just a tough one to get to.
He
Hopefully
should have
we
ran.
can
He
take care
should
of
have
business
ran.
and be in Middletown. for the next
He,
Yeah.
he should have. I went to the game in Mayapack. He should have ran Garnett more.
Yeah. So I think I ran him a lot when he cramped up.
I mean,
looked at him and said, "You got to go
56 carries is not
Yeah.
enough.
Wasn't enough.
We will be right back, and we'll continue a little bit with Section 9 and then get into some national stuff. Back again. Part of the this part is brought to you by Artist Alley on Market Street, Suite 12B. You were there last week. You got your haircut. Artist Alley, Suite 12B at Elite Studios outside of Philly. Artist Alley. Dave, you are the DA, and I want to ask you a question here.
Yep.
A few years ago, or I don't know if it's a few, 2, 3, I guess that's a few. There was an unfortunate incident in Newburgh that had nothing to do with the players, the coaches, or anything. And there was a period of time where they stopped having Friday Night Lights or
Yep.
Saturday Night Lights. It looks like that's coming back. Can you shed some light on that?
Absolutely. I think 100% the athletic directors, the superintendents that made the decision back then, they were acting what they thought was the best thing at the time for their schools. But look, we need football. We need high school to be played on Friday nights. We need it to be played. You know, that's what it's meant to be played on. That's why there's a movie, Friday Night Lights. That's why there's a series. In Orange County, the law enforcement does everything they can to keep those safe. That wasn't an unfortunate incident that happened at night. But I can tell you the games that are happening over the weekend, there's more than a sufficient number of police going to be there, private security, everything's there. But you know what? I think as a society, we need to make it a point that those games are important. And you know what? The schools need to make the investment to make sure that those games happen, because you know what? It is a rite of passage for everybody. It draws people into the community, brings people together, promotes unity. And you know what? We need that, particularly in today's world with everything that's happening with these kids.
I was told that high school stadiums like Fowler, like Goshen, like Walk Hill, they have stands on one side strictly for security reasons. Easier to secure. Is that true?
There is keeping on one side where you have home and everybody, and then they're separated by an area.
Mhm.
That is one way that they do it. At the end of the day, though, security is just a matter of putting enough people out there to manage the crowd that you're going to have.
I will say from a sectional standpoint, they actually are sometimes concerned about them being on the same side and prefer the others because they can manage it a little easier. Where you, like at Newburgh, for instance, when they do playoff games, and they do a great job with it, one set of fans for one team goes in one entrance, and that's their side. One set of fans goes in the other, and there's no crossover between the two.
And the shame of it is the problems that have occurred. Again, it had nothing to do with the Newburgh
fans,
program.
yeah.
It's not fans.
Yep.
It's not kids. It's parents.
Right.
That cause a lot of the issues.
Yeah.
But David, your kids were very good players in Section 9. Jackson gave up football. He's what's his story? He's on the golf.
He's basically played in the fall nationals out in Las Vegas. I think he's ranked. I think he's like 600 in the country, which isn't bad. Where he's at right now, and but he's gonna, he knows that he ain't gonna make the PGA Tour, so he's getting his degree, athletic training, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna try to go on and be a graduate assistant. And I think he wants to be a college golf coach. He's finishing up his second year at Morrisville. Actually was just talking to me the other day about Damien's previous quarterback, Brett Fuller.
Yeah, where's Brett? I'm sorry, where's Brett?
Utica.
He's at Utica?
Yep.
Yeah, did he redshirt or play?
So last year he
Very nice kid. We had him in here.
yeah, he was in here, but then this year as a sophomore, he got the starting job. Had a
yeah,
very
well,
great
good
and
for him.
successful season.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Did very good. Actually, Heath and I talked about him the other day, and he's going to finish up
Good.
his second year there, and then I think he's going to move on to somewhere else.
A lot of these kids, it's great. Utica, Cortland, Morrisville, they're rivals in high school, and then they wind up playing with each other. So it's
Right,
pretty
yeah.
cool. Dave, You know, it's funny. I have a friend of mine. What's Heath's title at Morrisville?
He's wide receiver special teams coach.
I have a friend of mine who got incredibly lucky, who is I don't know what it means to be an associate coach. What does that mean?
It means you're essentially
No,
you do
you're
just
an
as much
assistant.
work as the head
Yeah,
coach,
you're
but
You're paid a lot less,
Yeah.
so nothing.
Yeah, essentially you're an assistant.
Yeah.
He's an associate coach for Dion.
wow.
Kids from Fallsburg, New York.
The best jobs in coaching at the collegiate level generally have type quality control, and some of the better positions in top D1 programs are analysts. Like you go to like a big school, Tennessee and Alabama, and you're an analyst, and you sit in like major D1 programs. You sit around a table. You have the inner row and the outer row.
Mhm.
A lot of guys on the outer row are like tremendous coaches that are just doing the analyst work, and so those titles seem to be better.
We had a former player, Andrew Jackson. He's the current D line coach.
Great guy.
for West Virginia. And
Yeah.
he was quality control at
James Madison.
Old
Old Dominion,
He was
maybe.
at Penn State.
Yeah.
Old Dominion.
Yeah. So
Very nice guy.
And now he's one of the top assistants in the country. He travels and he speaks.
And when you're quality
Yeah.
control, it's easier to evaluate what other people are doing when you don't have to instruct them how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such a good place to be.
Now, you guys as coaches, Section 9 coaches, already voted on your players of the year in each conference. Aaron, you want to? Is this secretive?
It's actually not out till tomorrow.
It's not out till
It's not
tomorrow.
officially out till tomorrow.
So I can't give any breaking news
no,
of any
unfortunately,
kind.
I can't. You'll be one of the first media outlets to get it. I
How
promise.
about the first media outlet?
Yeah.
How about coaches? Is that a
Yeah, no, you can talk about the coaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
the coach of the year in Double A was Timmy Strenfeld.
Yep.
The coach of the year in Single A was Kevin Arduino.
Yep.
Damien, right here, coach of the year in D. How many times have you won that?
I believe 4. There's been 4.
As a coach, I always would rather win coach of the year than win anything else.
Go 0-8.
That's it.
Dave Moskowitz at O'Neill.
Yep.
And Aaron Hasbrouck, Class D Coach of the Year. Congratulations to you guys both. I won't ruin a relationship by announcing these players of the year right now, except for Double A. And that's it. I won't say it, but it rhymes with Ram. Anything else, Dave, from you? I know you got to get going. I appreciate the time.
No, thanks for having me in tonight. Thanks for having me with these two guys. I can't say enough. Like these guys.
You're pointing at me?
No, talking Damien and Aaron. The coaches don't get enough credit for helping these young men get from being young men to the next step. And not all of them going to play in college. Not all of them are going to do. But you know what? The time that these guys spend with them, it makes a difference to these young men and communities. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of coaches out in Section 9, and I'll name Billy Bianco, that he's kept a lot of kids on the straight and narrow, out of jail, out of trouble. And I am sure Damien and Aaron have done the same thing. So hats off to you guys. I wish you both good luck on the weekend and wish for the best.
I appreciate that.
And just to piggyback off that, and it's amazing what you just said. My kid had an accident years ago, and he was at the hospital at the emergency room, and I got there really right away.
Yep.
The coach was already there. It wasn't football season.
Yeah.
The relationship that the kids, the kids look at a football coach as a parent when they're in school.
Absolutely.
When they get in trouble, it's like, don't tell coach. When they do something good, it's make sure coach knows. And I'm sure when there's ever a problem, the first call they're making is to the coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know for Damien's wife,
All year
my
round.
wife, it's like they take on like 40 other kids. It's like we
Oh,
go
yeah.
home, we're talking about our kids, and then we're talking about Liam Benzinger's ankle or your, and it's like, and I just did want to touch on for Dave, he sent me a message today that he was coming around. Can I stop by? And, I always appreciate this when he talks to all the kids and he comes to Camp of Champions is, there's not many guys at his level that are saying, if you want a college recommendation letter, reach out to my office. I'll write one personally for
Yes.
you.
And
He's got a lot going on,
amazing.
and he does that everywhere he goes. So I really
Yes,
appreciate
and he
that.
follows through.
Yes, absolutely.
162. I did 162 last year.
And he doesn't just write the letter.
No.
He meets the kid.
No, I
Yeah.
meet him, and I'll tell you what, probably 25 trade school unions. which I think is fantastic because you know what? College is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. David Hoovler, thank you.
Thank
Orange
you.
County District Attorney. Continued success. Continue doing what you're doing, keeping the county safe. We will be back right after this. If Damien and Aaron want to stay, you're more than welcome. We are back. I'm back. We thank the guys from coming in. Damien from Port Jervis, Aaron from Burke, and the great DA, David Hoovler, who's shed a lot of light on some things. And he's had a busy day. I'm sure you'll see it all over the news tonight. Dick, I say it's November 15th because in a few weeks you undergo knee replacement surgery.
I do.
This is your second knee replacement?
It is. It is.
A different knee.
Yes, a different knee. Yes.
And how long are you out for?
Well, I'm out of the hospital the same day. They do it now. You're out. If you can walk, you walk out, and that's what I plan on doing. So.
Gotcha. Will you miss time here? You have some sick days coming up.
I do. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's a Friday. No, I could probably be here that Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when it is.
College football, Dick. Now I usually give you the top 10, but we're so far into the season. I'm going to give you the bowl rankings. And here you go. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Florida State are your 4 teams that are in if it started today. But there's so much going on, and there's so many different scenarios. For example, let me give you a Georgia schedule. They go to Tennessee. They have Georgia Tech. And then they have the SEC championship game against Alabama.
Right.
Ohio State has Minnesota and Michigan on their schedule. Harbaugh will not be coaching the Michigan-Ohio State game as of now.
Yes.
Michigan has Maryland and, like I said, Ohio State. Florida State has Florida. Florida State has Florida, and it looks like they could be playing Louisville in the ACC.
In the crossover.
In the crossover. But let me give you some teams that are still alive in this. I think Washington could get picked off this week by Oregon State.
I do too.
So they're not a lock, and then they play Oregon. Oregon has Arizona State, and I think Oregon State, and then again Washington.
The crossover.
Texas has Iowa State, not a gimme,
No.
and Texas hasn't played well.
No.
And then they have Texas Tech. Alabama has Auburn, never a gimme game.
No.
Auburn looked like the best team in the country this week.
Yeah,
against
they did.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Chattanooga.
And Louisville has Miami and Kentucky left. So in the SEC, you're looking at Georgia, Bama, ACC, Florida State versus Louisville, Big 12, Texas versus Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. And the Pac-12 looks like, on paper, I'm giving you Washington versus Oregon. Let me give you a scenario here, and you tell me who gets in. Let's say Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC. They both run the table, and in the SEC final, Alabama beats Georgia. Are they both in?
It depends on what the other undefeated teams do.
Let's say Florida State wins.
Okay. Well, Ohio State and Michigan, one of them is going to have a loss.
Right.
One of them is going to have a loss.
I think it's going to be Ohio State. I think Ohio State is not going to be in the final.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Unless they win.
Of course, but
Yeah.
we're assuming they're going to
Right.
lose. So we just named 3 teams.
Right.
We said Georgia and Alabama.
Right.
We said Michigan
Michigan.
and Florida State. We named 4 teams.
Right.
Who's the 5th team that could get in there?
The winner of Washington, Oregon.
Okay.
And if Bama beats Georgia, you're not going to be able to keep them out just based on.
No, we agreed with that.
Right, okay.
But I'm saying the 5th team. Would you take? Let's say Washington already beat Oregon. If Oregon beats Washington,
Right.
how do you leave Texas out? Because Texas beat Bama.
I agree.
So Texas, I think, is the team that's going to be screwed, or not screwed. Texas or Washington are going to have the gripe. Agree?
Agree.
Okay, so Dick, we both agree that Texas and Oregon or Washington are going to have the gripe.
Right. Right.
I do believe that if Alabama beats Georgia, it shouldn't eliminate Georgia.
Oh, I agree. They're the number 1 team. There would be a lot of teams jump over top of them.
So Alabama, and I don't think Alabama's beating Georgia. I'm gonna say Georgia is a lock.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Florida State's a lock.
Okay.
I'm going to say the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game's a lock. So I'm going to go Michigan.
Okay.
Now the fourth team,
The fourth,
because I eliminated Alabama.
okay, the fourth team is going to be the winner. The winner of this, because I think
This people can't see. The winner of Washington, Oregon.
Yeah, because I think they're maybe the two most exciting offensive teams in the entire tournament.
So
I think.
Okay, so the winner of but then again,
I understand that.
Texas
Yeah.
is, first of all, Texas is one of those blue bloods in
Blue blood,
football.
no question. Yes.
They haven't been there since Vince
Right.
Young.
Right.
What do you do with Texas?
Well,
and how do you explain to Texas? You beat See, Texas needs
Yeah.
Bama to beat Georgia.
Right. Exactly. But I don't think Texas has been playing
Either do I.
all that well to be a Final Four team. I understand they only have one loss. I
Mhm.
understand that. It was a tough loss to Oklahoma, who hasn't looked that great lately themselves. is
Yeah,
what
that
I'm saying.
hurts Texas.
It does. But I just think I would love to see Oregon in because of how offensive they're so good offensively.
Dick, I could make the argument that Oregon's the best team in the country right now.
and I could go along with that.
Yeah.
Along with that.
It's interesting. If Louisville
Yeah.
is the one that controls the road
The
destiny,
outlier.
yeah,
Yeah.
because if Louisville beats Florida State's out.
Gone. That's right. But I'll tell you what, based on, I know the championship game is a big thing, but there could be some really great bowl games,
Mhm.
all on the side, even coming down, even through here.
Oh, absolutely.
Even back to the top 20 teams, there could be some really great bowl games. So
Absolutely.
I would be looking forward to that.
Jimbo Fisher got $76 million.
Yeah.
That shows you what college football does.
But I just got news today. My college coach is 94 years old, and one of his former assistant coaches is on the board of trustees at Texas A&M. Not only does Jimbo have a guaranteed buyout, all of his assistants. This is turning into $210 million buyout. Is what it's turning into.
It's mind-boggling.
mind-boggling.
And you know what? Texas A&M,
Mhm.
it's a good program.
Right?
They're not Notre Dame.
No.
They're not Michigan.
No.
They're not Texas.
Yeah.
They're not Oklahoma. They're not Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan. They're not. They want to be,
Yeah.
and they want to play with the big boys. But $76 million to get rid of a guy
Yeah.
who never had a starting quarterback.
That's true.
He
That's
did win.
exactly
I
true.
believe he won a national title at Florida State.
He did.
They basically told, when you take a job, you see, when you take a job at Notre Dame, like the Blue Bloods I mentioned,
Yeah.
and you don't win a national championship
Yeah.
in the first 5 years,
Yeah.
I get it.
Right.
But Texas A&M is not there. I think it was a bad move.
Well, I heard some numbers today. In all their history,
Unless
of the
there's stuff we don't know.
Yeah, in the history of the Big 12, they won one championship in the Big 12.
Yeah, what was it,
And-
1940?
Yeah, well, no, I don't, maybe in the 90s, I think.
Okay.
And then when they went in the SEC, they haven't won anything in the
No.
SEC. So I don't know where, they put 108,000 people. It's a great crowd. Nobody has better facilities from what I'm
No.
told. I mean, they have everything going, but they're a second citizen in their own state. And they're a second, maybe even depending on some of the other teams, Tech or Baylor or even TCU now,
Mhm.
they're a second citizen there.
Mhm.
I just, and now they're going to have to pay somebody just what they paid Jimbo, I think.
And how do you take that job knowing that if you don't win a national title in 3 years, your coaching career could be over? Because Fisher's going to have a
Yeah.
tough time finding another job.
Yeah.
Not that he needs it
No.
either anymore.
And the guy who takes the job when he gets fired is not going to need another job either because that's how much they're going to have to pay
It's
him.
just
too.
amazing how much
It-
money
it's crazy.
college football
It's just
brings
crazy.
in.
It's crazy.
Look at these stadiums. You get 110,000,
Right.
112. The
Right.
stadiums keep getting bigger, and
Right.
there's not a seat to be found.
No, and merchandising and television money, it's gone crazy.
And I'll tell you, if Dion, not that there's going to be
Right.
rumors at every job.
right.
Dion doesn't belong at Texas.
Texas,
A&M.
not at all.
Not even
at
close.
all.
You know where
Yeah.
Dion belongs?
Where he is, I think.
Yes,
Mm.
but I'll tell you a place where he also could shine. And I think Mario Cristobal is in trouble.
In Miami.
Yes, Dion could.
Yeah.
I know he went to Florida State,
Yeah.
but Dion, I would sign for him tomorrow.
But I think Dion wants to prove that he could turn that Colorado program around.
Mhm.
Then he could probably have any job in the country that he wanted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just
I
think
think
if
he
you
already
do-
has turned it
No,
around.
but not really. They're better. Let's put
Yeah.
it, and they're a lot better. Let's put it that way. But
Yeah.
we'll see. They may not even get a bowl game. So
That's true.
so we'll see. But I think he's on his way to do that.
I think stock down. We
Yeah.
mention it every week. Lincoln Riley. I mean, how many times are you going to score 50 points and lose by 10?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It was like when Mike Leach was at these various schools.
Yeah.
They put up 50 and get beat 52-50. You know, it's but he for being the savior that he was supposed to be. I mean, how can you have that kind of a program with Southern Cal? If we're talking about a blue blood, they are certainly a blue blood.
Absolutely.
How can you not get them have a better defense in that when it's such a prolific offense?
Did Jim Harbaugh get screwed, or did Jim Harbaugh screw himself?
Both, I think, both.
Yeah, how did he get screwed? See, there's where I'll disagree with you.
I think he gets screwed because of past stuff. I think this is an accumulation type thing. I think is what they're doing.
What he did was wrong.
right,
And to say you don't know about it,
right,
and to ask for an injunction, take your 3 games.
right.
You know.
Yeah, well,
First of all, it's his last year there.
all right. Second, first of all, remember he fought the first thing.
Mhm.
He fought the first thing. So the NC State wasn't too happy about that either.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
the judge is from Michigan.
That's exactly right. But the thing of it is, it's accumulative with him, I
Mhm.
believe. And this is his last year at Washington.
And
no question.
At Michigan. And
At Michigan.
And I'm glad of one thing. I'm glad they're not punishing the student athletes.
Yeah.
Because usually they take away bowl games, they take away this.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harbaugh is whatever game, whether it's the national championship game, the semifinal game, or the Ohio State game, that's his last game coaching
Right.
at Michigan.
I agree.
I think he'll be with the Chargers. I think he'll be somewhere. But I think he's an NFL coach.
Vegas.
Anywhere.
Vegas, the Chargers, and there'll be other jobs opening up. You could be sure of that.
Yes. There were some great games. Which team here do you see getting picked off this week? Is there a team? Is there something that you look at that catches your eye? I mean, we're going to speak to the Irishman later.
I don't see that.
You see Georgia getting through in Tennessee?
I do.
So do I.
I do. What they did with Mississippi last week, I think they're only getting better, Georgia. And you're right. I'm an Alabama fan, but I think Alabama's going to have trouble getting by them. And
I
they
agree.
did. Yeah. So we'll see.
The team that I see getting that could make life easier, I think Iowa State is a live dog against Texas,
Mhm.
and I certainly think that
Oregon State.
that Oregon State is a live dog against Washington.
I agree.
So that these things seem to work out at the end of the year.
Yeah, they do.
We all root for chaos, but it
Right.
usually doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Dick, when we get back, we'll talk NFL. We'll cover the NBA,
Yeah.
and this portion of the show is brought to you by Brew. Brew is located on 2 Railroad Avenue in Goshen. I was there for dinner last night. I go there too many times. Last night I had the chicken française. It was very good. The Irishman was there. He had chicken parm. Wasn't on the menu. I couldn't have it, but he had it. We'll be back right after this. We are back. We're awaiting the Irishman's phone call. When he calls in, we'll put him right on. The Irishman did a very good job last week.
He's been hot, by the way.
Very hot.
Yeah.
Dick, let's before the Irishman before he calls, while we're waiting, let's do something real quick. Let's cover the NFL real quick. And I don't know if you called it, but you mentioned it several times. Let me give you the Houston Texans schedule. I'm going to give you 2 teams. The Texans are 5-4. The Jags are in first place at 6-3. The Texans, like I said, they have 5 wins. They play at Arizona. No, they're home to Arizona, I believe.
Mhm.
Jacksonville, Denver, the Jets, Titans, Browns without Deshaun Watson. That was breaking news today. He's out for the season. Titans, and finish up with the Colts. I could definitely see them winning 9 or 10 games.
I agree.
And
I agree.
C.J. Stroud is not only the rookie of the year, he could be an MVP.
No, I agree with that too. And the thing of it is, do you think they're catching lightning in a bottle here, maybe a little bit, or no?
I thought so, but when they went into Cincinnati
And won.
and blew a lead,
Right.
and he still came, he threw a bad pick,
Yeah.
and then he let him down the field,
Mhm.
and they won the game.
Yeah.
This kid is throwing for 400 or 500 yards in the game.
But he's been
Poised.
I don't know. He's like it's like Marino.
He's been
30,
unbelievable.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
He's been so good. He's been really so good.
I was disappointed and very surprised that the Ravens blew the lead against the
Me
Browns
too.
this week.
Me too.
I still think the Ravens could be the best team in the AFC, especially now with Watson out.
Yeah.
The most disappointing team is the Buffalo Bills. And I'll tell you, they had 12 men on the field for a field goal, which had nothing to do with Ken Dorsey,
Right.
who's been nothing but great.
Exactly.
And then they fired Dorsey. You know what's amazing? If they have 11 men on the field, Dorsey's still the offensive coordinator. He
Right.
gets fired for a special teams mistake,
Right.
and he's out the door.
And a defensive mistake. First of all, the pass interference on a ball that was 20 yards underthrown for crying out loud, and he'll have a job. He'll have a job soon.
Yeah.
He'll have a job soon.
Josh Allen doesn't take the hits that he should be taking.
Mhm.
He leads the league in turnovers. And you got to give credit, I think, to Daboll because he hasn't been the same quarterback since Daboll left.
I agree.
And Daniel Jones was having a good year until he got, not this year, but last year until he got hurt.
Yeah.
I told you I wanted to give you two teams.
But now are we going back because Dorsey wasn't as good as Daboll? Is that what we're saying? And that's why he
I don't
got
know.
fired? That's
I
why
think
maybe
there
the
was
comparison?
I think there was a scapegoat. Dorsey was the scapegoat.
I agree.
McDermott has a great relationship with the owner and the GM.
No, I know he does.
And if Bill Belichick is, the rumors are he still wants to coach
Right.
and he's going to be out in New England.
Yeah.
The two best jobs for Belichick are clearly Buffalo and San Diego, where he has a
I
quarterback.
agree. You mean the LA, the Chargers?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I always get that.
Me
screwed
too.
up.
I do too.
I said I wanted to give you two teams. I gave you Houston. We have the Irishman on the line right now, I believe. Do I have the Irishman on the line? Okay, I'm going to give you the second team when we get done with the Irishman. Before I ask you for your picks, I want to know the over/under on chicken parm last night at Brew. I wanted chicken parm. I got chicken francese. It was excellent. But the guy next to me, the Irishman, got chicken parm, and they said they didn't have any. What was the story with that?
The over-under must have been one Irishman or no?
The over-under was 1.5, and it went under.
It went under. You
And it
had
went
the under
under.
on chicken parm, you won.
That's it.
First of all, you didn't hear us because you weren't here, but you were on fire last week. You did great. You've been doing great all year.
Yep.
Give us your picks this week.
Well, I don't have a lot going on. It's too early in the day, but I'll tell you, tomorrow I love a game. I'll give you a game tomorrow. I love Boston College against Pittsburgh. They're playing in Three Rivers. I think Pittsburgh's a fraud. I think Boston College will beat them outright.
Boston College, are they a dog?
Yeah, they're a dog. They're a dog to
Boston-
pick. Pitt's a small favorite. I'll tell you, I love the Cadets on Saturday.
Who does Army play?
Army plays Coastal
Army
Carolina.
over Coastal Carolina. You're
Absolutely.
picking some huge games here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's a game you'll like. I'm going to take Tennessee plus the points against Georgia. I think, they're going to go to Rocky Top. They haven't lost there probably in about 2-3 years at home, or 2 years, Tennessee. They're on a big winning streak at home. I think they'll keep the game close. Who knows? It might shake up. It might shake up the things in the top 10.
What's the
You never know.
what's the number?
This is
on
when
it?
it happens.
What's the
This is
number?
when
on
it
it?
happens, Darin. This is when it happens. The middle of November to the last 2 weeks. This is when it all shakes out. Everybody's going, oh, what about this? What about that? Wait till the last 2 weeks pan out, and it'll be clear who the top 4 are.
All right, I'm going to ask you about some games that you didn't mention. Just your quick thoughts on them.
Sure, go ahead.
Washington at Oregon State in Corvallis, never an easy place to play. And Oregon State may have the best defense in the Pac-12. Who do you like in that game?
Yeah, I tell you, I think Oregon State, like I said, I think 3 weeks ago I talked about that team. I think they're a tough team, and they might catch Washington coming off a high. Big game. They beat Utah last week, so they didn't cover. They only won by 7. They were a 10-point favorite. But I think Oregon State keeps it close.
Oregon State is a 2.5-point dog. You like dogs. You like Oregon State.
Oh yeah, I'm howling. I howled the last 2 weeks of November. Very tough for me to take a favorite in college the last 2 weeks of November.
Okay. How about Texas goes to Iowa State? Texas has not played well. They got their starting quarterback back last week. They still, you were right on that game. You had TCU plus the points. Texas is 7.5 to 8 point favorite in Iowa State. Who do you like in that game?
Tough place to play. I really thought Texas would be a little bit more than 7.5, 8.5. Game kind of smells to me a little bit. Besides that game, so I'm kind of really don't have much, but I would lean to the dog. But I'll tell you one game that smells the most. I think we spoke about earlier in the week, Darin, me and you. This Miami team playing Louisville, a one-loss Louisville team going to Miami, who really
has quit.
They can't find their way. And it's like a pick'em game. I'll tell you, I said, that's wow. That was something to me. I says, they must know something in Vegas, so I have to go with the Hurricanes.
Wait, you like Miami in that game?
Yeah, I told you. I says, something smells in that game. It makes me think. I don't know. Why is this game pick'em?
Miami may be playing for their coach.
Miami could be playing.
If they want him around.
Yeah.
Cristobal's a great recruiter. He's a horrible game coach. Yeah. He's proven it time and time again.
Oh, my gosh. No doubt.
Irishman, the best 4 teams today in the country are?
Oh, well, you got the 2 in the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan. I think they're tops. Georgia, Alabama's really playing good. Mm-hmm. I mean, now you got the guys looking in on the inside. You got Washington, Texas, and Florida State. Mm-hmm. But don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if, all of those 7 I mentioned, maybe 5 of the 7 get a loss. And, somebody that's ranked 8 through 11 sneaks into the top.
Who is that team 8 through 11 that you think could get in?
Well,
Texas?
I think Texas is. I think they're underneath that.
Okay.
They're 7. Yeah.
7.
Bama's starts at an 8.
Yeah, well, Bama's. It's all going to predicate on the SEC championship game. Right. They win, they're in. They lose, obviously, they're out.
Mm-hmm. I think Dick and I were talking. We root for chaos, but it doesn't seem like we ever have it because it all pans out at the end. The chaos. Here's where the chaos happens: is if Washington loses to Oregon State. And Oregon then beats Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. And let's say Louisville upends Florida State in the ACC title game. And Texas runs the table. That's where you have chaos.
Well, it could start this week if Florida does something with Florida State. I think they're a live dog. You're a Florida
Who's
State
that, coach? Who says a live dog?
He likes the Gators.
The Gators against Florida State.
Yeah.
Hey, why not? Listen, and like you said, you got Louisville playing Florida State, the championship game. You never know what's going to happen there. Who's to say if Oregon does beat, or even they're going to play, Washington? They're looking ahead and they lose, to Oregon State. Don't they play Oregon State next weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and the Florida State game is in 2 weeks. Florida goes to Missouri this week.
Yeah, those games are normally after Thanksgiving. Those state rivalries, the Auburn, Alabamas, and stuff like that. And who's to say that doesn't happen? Who's to say Auburn doesn't beat Alabama?
Irishman, are you hanging out at 2 Railroad Avenue tonight? If so, what are the specials this evening?
We have a Cajun feast, which is a nice penne pasta with shrimp and chicken, and Cajun sauce. We have a blackened salmon with a spinach and a penne pasta, chicken piccata with some penne. We got the fried galamont with the special hot sauce that we make here in house. Awesome, off the charts. And we have a pulled pork sandwich on a brioche bun with some coleslaw and some pickles. We got something for everyone here, Brew.
But no chicken palm.
No chicken palm for me. He was like
the chicken palm over and under is still 1.5. I think it's going to go under again.
He was the chicken palm Nazi last night. No chicken palm for you.
We only make it for special people. So if Coach comes by, we'll make it for him.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Of course, we had to have the Irishman on once the district attorney left.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Irishman, thank you very much. Enjoy your time at 2 Railroad Avenue in Brew. You have live music coming up this weekend?
Well, we're going to have our live music on Wednesday. We have a nice afternoon soiree for all of us people over 40 years old. We come here at 5 o'clock, 5 to 8, have some fun, and then go home, rest. And then the kids come out at 11, meaning the kids, the 22-year-olds, to 25-year-olds and they had their fun and they're hungover at Thanksgiving dinner, you know, and then all the parents are going, "What's wrong? What'd you do last night?"
Irishman, once again, thank you for the time. Say hello to the little Irishman, Eddie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You guys have a great one. Have a great Thanksgiving. If I don't talk to you.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks to all the Robinsons. Have a great one. Holiday.
Thanks,
Irish.
coach. Take care. All right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Listen, Dick, I told you I wanted to give you 2 teams. I gave you the Texans. You buying into the Lions now? The Lions could be the 2 seed. They could win 14
Right.
games. Listen to this schedule.
Yeah.
They're 7-2.
Yeah.
They're going to beat the Bears.
Yes.
They're going to beat the Packers.
Oh,
They're going
yeah.
to beat the Saints.
Mhm.
They're going to beat the Bears again. They could beat the Broncos, the Vikings. I'll give them a split, the Cowboys and the Vikings. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This team could win 14 games. There's no way.
I kind of agree, and I like them. You know, I'm becoming a fan. I became a fan of them about halfway through last year. I became a fan of them, and I'm still a fan of them. I think they're just I just don't. You know, I like them, but I don't have that great feeling about them. They're definitely going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs. There's going to be no question.
Especially at home.
Exactly.
And if they get that 2 seed, they
Right.
get 2 games at home.
Right.
They get a
exactly.
bye in a home game.
Right.
Dick, you know, we talk Giants, Jets, and there's really nothing changed.
No.
The Giants are terrible.
Hmm.
Dable deserves to come back. It's not his fault.
Right.
We'll never know what Daniel Jones is. Where the Giants went wrong, and you and I were doing the radio, and I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not bragging because I may be wrong, but I know for a fact I was screaming, do not draft Saquon Barkley at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just give you some, that's where the Giants went wrong. Taking Barkley at 2. Let me give you some running backs. Nick Chubb was in the same draft.
Right.
You take him at 35.
Right.
The following year, here's your running backs that were taken, and the earliest one was the last pick of the first round. Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard went in the 4th round, David Montgomery in the 3rd round, Devin Singletary in the 3rd round. In 2020, the first running back off the board was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Then they went DeAndre Swift, and Jonathan Taylor was the 41st pick. Barry Sanders, Eric Dickerson, Curtis Martin, Adrian Peterson, Earl Campbell. I can go on and on. They never won Super Bowls. Running backs don't take you to the promised land. Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton won Super Bowls. Payton was on a team that had the greatest defense I've ever seen.
Right.
Emmitt Smith had Aikman, Irvin. He was a part of a wheel that was great. Emmitt Smith was great,
Exactly.
but he wasn't the first overall pick either. He was
No.
drafted 17th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
To draft a running back at number 2 is asinine.
You know, he was, but if you remember the quarterbacks coming out then, the Jets took, what's his name? The kid from USC.
The Jets took,
At 1, right?
they took Sam Darnold.
Yeah, at 1.
Yeah.
At 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
See, I can't second guess
Mhm.
which quarterback because
Yeah.
I wanted Baker Mayfield. And you know what? Baker
Oh.
Mayfield's having a good comeback
yeah,
year.
he is.
But
he is. Yeah.
to take Barkley at 2 was malpractice.
To take
I don't care how great he was at Penn State.
Okay. All right. As it turns out, you're probably right. So
Saquon Barkley, if his career ends today, has been a complete bust.
yeah, I would have to say, but don't
The
forget.
guy had a yard rushing last week.
Yeah, but
A
don't-
yard.
Yeah, but don't forget, if you combine the Jets' offensive line with the Giants' offensive line, it'd still stink. Think about that for a minute, don't you think?
Dick, the Lions were horrible
Yeah.
with Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
He still had 100 yards
Well,
every game rushing.
but that's a whole different. Barry Sanders is a whole different ballgame.
But they didn't draft him that early. They compared Saquon Barkley to the next Barry Sanders.
No, I understand that. He's not. He's not.
You know? The Lions are a big surprise. Did the 49ers impress you enough to put
They
them back?
did. I did. They did. They
Who's
did.
the best team in the NFC today? The Eagles, Artist Alley's Eagles are 8-1. They go to Kansas City this week. The Cowboys still don't have that. They beat up on bad teams.
Right, they do.
That's what they do.
They do. I think getting Samuel and the offensive tackle back
Williams
made a huge difference in what they do.
and Chase Young
And Chase Young. Oh
has
yeah,
played well.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. When
I
all
do
is said
too.
and
I
done.
do too.
The question is, who's the second best? Is it the Lions? Is it the Eagles? Who is it?
Kevin Audrey?
We'll call him back.
All right.
Hold on one second. This is his ringtone.
Kevin, I'll call you right back.
I love it.
Go ahead.
Is it? I mean, the Lions are right up there.
Yeah.
The Eagles, I think, are great.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think the Eagles are very good.
Good. They're very good. Yeah.
I think the 49ers could be good to great.
I think
they
they
have a
are.
lot of
I
weapons.
think we're going to see them in the Super Bowl. I don't know about the AFC, but I think we're going to see the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think the Super Bowl is going to be the San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. That's my pick.
There's a lot to shake out in that AFC East. There really is. I thought a week ago that the Cincinnati Bengals were the team to beat, and then I thought Miami was the team to beat, and then they get crushed by Buffalo, who's playing, those kind of things. But I'm still not convinced of with Lamar Jackson. As good as he is, I'm still not convinced.
I am.
Okay.
You know what's funny? As bad as the Jets are,
Yeah.
the Jets are a win this week away from being in second place.
I know that.
And they go to Buffalo.
Right.
I don't think they have. Every week I say this. This is the week Buffalo turns it on, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. The AFC South, the Jaguars and the Texans are going to battle that out. I think the Texans win the division.
Well, let's do it this way. A lot of people had the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl. If they don't beat the Jets this week, they're not even going to make the playoffs.
Correct.
Much less the Super Bowl.
I agree with you 100%.
So,
the AFC North could get a few teams in.
Yeah.
The Deshaun Watson, the best. The Bengals are 5-4. They could be the best team in the division.
Right, I agree.
But the Browns really losing Deshaun Watson puts an end, I think, to their season.
Uh-huh.
And this is the year that the Browns were going to exercise the demons and make it to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because that win last week was very impressive.
Right.
You had Kevin Arduino call in. We'll get Kevin, the Cornwall coach, on the line when we get back, and then we'll finish up with some NBA. We will be right back. Dick, earlier in the show, we had Damien and Aaron prepping for their playoff game. Kevin Arduino's nice enough to call in. Kevin's at Cornwall. We discussed Cornwall. They're 11-0. They're fourth in the state. They play Niskayuna, who's ranked third in the state. The game is being played, I believe, Kevin, in Goshen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's correct.
Kevin, first of all, thank you for calling in. You had, first of all, what do you know about Niskayuna?
I know they're a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any common opponents?
No common opponents. So we've been able to see some film with teams that do some similar stuff as we do. But no common opponents. But they're a good football team. They got some good players. They do some really good stuff on both sides of the ball.
Are they similar to you?
They are. They're similar. They're a kind of run the ball type of offense, and then they're really physical defense. So two things that are pretty similar as to us. So it should be a good game on Friday.
Gotcha. Now you had I don't know if you want to get into it, but you have an injury. And again, if you don't want to get into it, don't. But one of your players was injured last week. You want to give us an update, or you want to just stay away from it?
No, I'll give you an update. He's doing a lot better. It's not as serious as we originally had thought. So all that stuff is good. He's rehabbing.
Who's the player? Let's get that out.
It's Tyler Vanderpool.
Okay, your running back. Sustained an ankle injury, but he looks like he's going to be able to go this week.
Yeah, he's rehabbing, and he's looking better each day. So we're hoping to get him going on Friday.
Great. And, we say it every year. Our favorite teams this year are right now Middletown, Cornwall, Port Jervis, O'Neill, and Burke. And we wish you nothing but the best. Cornwall, you do a great job. Great coaches are replaced by great coaches. Great players replaced by more great players. And you do a hell of a job there, Kevin, for your first year. 11-0, and here you are going to, to the won Section 9 again.
Well, yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's it's great kids, and we got a great staff.
You do. And I'm sure Richie Ward is home. You know, you can't probably get a hold of Richie right now. He could probably tell you every play Niskayuna is going to run.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's prepared. He's definitely
if I'm
prepared.
not mistaken, didn't Cornwall play Niskayuna a couple of years ago up at Shenendahoa in one of those games?
I'm not sure. I know Niskayuna is. It's kind of they're kind of new to the scene. They won it last year. They won Section 2 last year. Because it's typically, you know, Burnt Hills is out of that section a lot in Class A, and Queensbury. You know, those are really the powers up there. And the last couple of years, it's been Niskayuna. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Cornwall. I don't think we've ever played them.
Okay.
Kevin, Coach will give you my number. You have the game in Goshen. Orange County Bagel, which sponsors this part of the show with 4 locations in Walden, Washingtonville, Goshen, and Middletown. If you kids need bagels or anything like that, let us know. Coach will give you my number. Call me and we'll have them ready for you to pick up in Goshen or whatever's easier for you.
It'd be awesome. Thank you for that.
Kevin, best of luck. Get a W, and maybe we'll speak to you next week if you have time for us.
All right. Thank you. And hopefully we do.
Give him hell, bub.
All right. Thanks, coaches.
Kevin Arduino, coach of the Cornwall Green Dragons, perennial state, perennial Carrier Dome contenders.
Exactly right.
Dick, we're going to finish up with basketball. We could do a little college basketball. There's been some great games early. Arizona going to Cameron surprised me.
Right.
And winning.
I don't think that surprised me. I think Arizona's going to be sneaky good. You just don't go into
Cameron
and win. And Duke looked so good last night against a good Michigan State team. Both those games were very entertaining. I enjoyed them both. For early games, I thought they were well played.
The Kansas-Kentucky game was unbelievable.
There is so much quickness in college basketball anymore today. It's funny. And the big men even are quick these days. And it's just, but like last night, the Hutchinson kid from Kansas, he came from the portal. He would have made Michigan a top 5 team this year. He got in the portal and took the highest bidder. Kansas was the highest bidder in the NIL, and he went to Kansas. And he went for 27 and 21 last night. You know,
Khalid Love left Carolina to go to Arizona.
Exactly.
The portal is. I mean, these kids in college now are free agents.
Right. Exactly. The NIL and the portal are just.
See, my opinion has always been a college kid when he commits to a school should not be able to leave the school unless the coach leaves.
I agree.
If the coach leaves, the player could leave.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's ridiculous. St. John's had a tough loss at home last night.
They did. They did.
You know what? He's going to turn. He's not going to turn it around in one day.
Don't forget, he's brought a whole conglomerate of teams. I mean, there's no
he's
basic.
basically done the Deion Sanders in college basketball.
There's no basic. You know, he's got 12 kids that never met each other. You know, that kind of thing, and they're going to be good.
Listen,
you know, they're
Rick
going to be good.
Pitino is going to,
and they're going to be good.
He's going to win.
That's exactly.
That's
right.
the bottom line.
I agree with you.
Make sure your ringer's off. Let's talk a little NBA here, and we'll finish up. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me give you the schedule next week, though. Next week, we're going to try and do Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm going to work. Thursday, Orange County Bagels with sponsors. This part of the show will close around noon, and then I'm going to jet down to Artist Alley's house. What are your Thanksgiving plans?
Over to my youngest daughter, Dana's house, and it's always, she's a great cook, and she always surprises us with something. Yeah.
Surprises you with what?
No, turkey's always there, but I mean, she's very creative in the kitchen. Very creative in the kitchen.
All right. Anything in the NBA? The Sixers are 8-2. Celtics are 8-2. Here's a surprise. I don't know if it's a surprise. The Timberwolves are 8-2.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the T-Wolves are a quality team.
Yeah,
their problem is they got 5 guys making $100 million.
Yeah, that's their problem. And Philadelphia are playing with some joy. Embiid is happy. Maxey goes for 50 the other night. I think
he had 50 points the other night.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and Harden has declared himself in California as the system. He is the system.
Yeah, the system is 3 and 7.
With Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Westbrook, he is the system, and they haven't won a game since he's been there.
Right,
they haven't
and
won
a quality center in Zubac.
Exactly.
To me, I like 4 of the 5 players on the Clippers. Yeah. They can't lose enough. Harden cannot lose enough.
I agree with you.
What do you think? All-Star break, he demands a trade to the Celtics?
Maybe. And don't they look good? And don't the Celtics look good? If Porzingis can stay healthy, I could see them winning the whole damn thing.
Yeah, he's day to day right now.
No,
by
I
the
know
way.
he is. I know he is, but he looked good. And on a side note, the matchup last night with Wembanyama and Holmgren, that was particularly interesting, particularly in the paper this morning. They had him in the jump ball, and they were both straight on with the ball up top.
Holmgren's impressed me.
He's averaging 16, 10, and 4 assists. But again, you got to be able to keep him on the court, you know.
So far,
Yeah. And now Zion is lost it. He's have you been staying up with Zion?
Here's what I listen. We're both Knick fans.
Right.
I don't want Karl Anthony Towns.
I don't either.
I don't want him because of his money, and I don't want him the money's the big reason.
Yeah.
You could get him for less than anybody
Right.
else, but you're gonna have to pay him.
Right.
But I don't want a 7-foot center
Jump
who
shooter.
shoots
Jump
threes
shooter. Right.
and doesn't rebound.
Right.
I mean, last night he went 33 and 16, so it's hard to come off
yeah,
that. But
yeah. He doesn't do it all the time.
he's a good player.
He is.
Anthony Edwards is a star, though.
Yeah, and you're just not going to get him. I
No,
don't think you're not
no,
going to
no,
get
no,
him.
no.
He is a star. He is really a star.
But if the Pelicans fall apart,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. You just mentioned Zion. As a Knick fan,
Mhm.
and let's say the Pelicans fall apart, and both are healthy,
Yeah.
you have your choice of Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram.
Me too.
Mm.
Ingram, I like Ingram.
I do too. I do too.
As a Knick fan, Memphis is off to a terrible start. John Morant is suspended the
Right.
first 25
Right.
games. I don't think they're moving him. If he screws up again, they would try to move him, but I don't think you'd want him.
No.
Morant is a great player.
I don't want him now.
No,
You know, I know you like him, and I like him as a player.
Oh,
but
I like him
but
as a player,
But I
but
think
the
he's a
kid's
Harden. I
he's-
think he's a Harden.
I think he's a dumb heart.
Oh, no, I agree.
I mean, he hasn't demanded trades,
Right.
but the guy gets caught waving a gun not twice but 3 times.
After being told publicly, the whole world knew that
Yeah.
he was told that.
Who's the guy? And I'm going to ask you this every week.
Yeah.
What are you giving up as a Knick brass for the name that's being bandied about today is Zach LaVine?
I heard that today.
What are you giving up for Zach LaVine? Because Barrett's playing well right now.
He is, and he looks much improved. I don't think Zach LaVine is as. I don't think he's a game changer for the Knicks.
He
is
doesn't
what-
move
is
the
what I'm
needle?
saying. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I do.
Particularly if you got to give up Barrett.
Well, that's the
If
issue.
you got to give up Barrett, or he may move the needle depending on what you have to give up for him.
If Chicago came to me, and I don't think they would, and said Grimes,
Yeah,
draft picks,
yeah.
and money for Fournier's money, I make the deal.
Bring him in.
If
Bring
they're
him in.
asking for Barrett, Grimes, and draft picks, I'm going to have to say no.
Me too. Me too.
And I think I'd say that for most players right
Yeah,
now,
I agree.
because you got to see what Barrett is. First of all, the Knick contracts for the first time since I've been alive are good.
Good.
They're good
They
contracts.
are. They are. They're good.
That's why I'm not getting tied up with Karl Anthony
No.
Towns. When you bring in a player like that, in the NBA, you got to trade money for money.
I agree. I agree. I just wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. And
Donovan Mitchell
Mm.
moves the needle.
right.
Donovan, you're
For,
watching.
for anybody, he moves the needle.
Anybody.
For anybody.
You're watching the Knicks, like the Knicks play the Hawks tonight,
right.
and you're going to see at the end of the game, Trae Young take it over.
Right.
The Knicks haven't had that guy since Melo, and they didn't
Yeah.
serve, that one
Yeah.
year where they won
Yeah.
50 games.
Yeah.
The Knicks just don't have that guy. Maybe Brunson becomes that guy, but they don't have that stone cold killer at the end of the game like a Doncic or something like that. The Knicks are in need of a star. Mitchell is a star. Levine is not a star. Anthony Towns is not a star. Joel Embiid is a star.
I agree.
And
with
I
that.
see the Sixers ever moving him. And
No.
if they did, why would they ever move him in
No.
their own division?
No way. And then, you know what? All the teams that James Harden leave always get better. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Yeah. They always
Boy,
get better.
Talk about that. The Nets, Sean Marks put
Right.
the Nets in such a hole look what Harden did to the Nets. He made them make a trade. He got Atkinson fired.
Right.
Durant got him fired.
Yeah.
But they did everything they could to appease Harden. Then they trade him to the Sixers, and the Sixers do everything they can to appease Harden.
Right.
And he just doesn't give a shit. The guy just
No,
leaves.
he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Because he's the system, he says.
Yeah, he
He
is.
the system.
He's the system. The Pacers are a little bit surprising.
I think they're going to be very good. I think they're going to be very good. The
Halliburton.
Halliburton, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
And you know what? Kyrie Irving, we haven't heard a bad thing about him.
No.
He's playing well.
Right.
Doncic is a star.
And they're playing very well together
Yeah.
now. Finally.
I'm going to give you a player, and I'm going to give kudos to Jeff Glotzer.
Yeah.
He mentioned Doncic years ago, but that was, I don't know if it was an easy one. We just didn't know European
Right.
players. But if you remember, he called in one night, the night before the draft,
Yeah.
and said the Knicks should do everything they can to move up and get Josh Giddey.
Right.
Giddey is a very good
Yes,
player.
he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he
I don't know
is.
about his defense, but Giddey is a 17-8-8 guy every night. He's smart. He's tall. He handles the ball. He's a very good player.
I'm not.
And
Go ahead.
OKC with Giddey, Shea, and Holmgren, they're building something.
They really are. And anymore, have you been watching some of these NBA scores? Everything's 129,
Yeah, I
119.
can't watch.
There's
I'm
nobody.
I hate the league. I'm an NBA.
the-
I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah, there's nobody playing any defense anymore. So now you've got to have creative guys offensively, almost like in football.
Mhm.
You have to have a great offensive coordinator. You got to score points because nobody's playing defense anymore. So we'll see. We'll see down the end. I think I'm still. I still think Denver's going to handle this whole thing again.
If you had the number one pick right now in the NBA, who would you take to start your team?
It depends on what I needed.
No, you have nobody.
I have nobody.
It's your first pick.
Well, I like that Hutchinson kid last night, but I don't
No,
think
the NBA. I'm talking the NBA. Who's the best player in the league? Who's the most valuable player in the league right now?
Jokic.
Jokic? I
think-
agree with you.
I think.
Because
yeah.
if you need a point guard, you can
Right.
even do that.
That's right. That's right.
We will be back next week. We wish everybody a pre-happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back next week. Let me just give you the Irishman's picks one more time. He likes Boston College tomorrow night over Pitt. He likes Army over Coastal Carolina. He likes getting the points with Tennessee, Georgia. And he likes Oregon State getting the points against Washington.
Right.
We will be back next week. And it's the following week you have your...
Yeah, but that's all right. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, I don't know how he can take Army after what they looked like against Holy Cross on Saturday.
And UMass the 2 weeks before that.
Yeah,
but they beat Air Force in between.
No, I
in Air
understand.
Force.
I understand. It just doesn't make sense.
You know why he likes Army? Because he's going to the game. So he figured he had to bet the game. Richard, another great job.
Yeah,
We'll be back
thank
next
you,
week.
Richie, very much.
Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the coaches.